Today's podcast is sponsored by Shauna Hawkins Photography. Welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty.
Hey, and welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast. I'm your host, Jody, and today we are talking with Firefighter Chris Moore. Chris, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you reached out and we were able to connect.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm glad also that we were able to connect and make this happen. I think it's important that we normalize these conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is so important because everything, so many issues regarding mental health and, PTSD and trauma and stuff. There's still a little, it's getting better. We're talking about them more, but not enough, in my opinion. And the more conversations that we can have that can educate or, inform people, I think it's just going to be a better world the more we do it. So, welcome to the show. Chris Moore is a firefighter, and I'm really interested to, hear a little bit about his journey and what he's been through. And so, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I'm a firefighter with over 30 years experience as a first
Wow.
responder. I'm also the son. My late father, he passed away in 2005. He was a first responder also, but he was law enforcement. He was
Okay.
also a Vietnam era Marine, served several tours over in Vietnam.
Wow.
So I always knew growing up the son of a Vietnam era Marine, and then when he was a police officer, that's what I remember him as, was the police officer. But I always knew that I wanted to get into serving my community, doing public service, and I just so happened to score a little bit higher on the test, so I was able to become a firefighter instead of a police officer.
Oh, wonderful.
That's a joke. That's a running joke that we have with between police and fire, that firefighters are smarter, but we're all
Uh,
on the same team, even though we wear different uniforms.
yeah, for sure.
But with my dad's his, I guess, his upbringing, and then going into the at a extremely early age. He was 18 when he went into the service in Vietnam.
Jesus.
But all of that kind of just kept going over. And when he had started his family and everything, when he came back from Vietnam, it a lot of the discipline, and we didn't know it at the time, and I didn't even know it until just a little while ago, a few short years ago. But he had a lot of generational trauma that
Right.
that he was dealing with, and like I said, didn't we don't know what we don't know, and he didn't know it. Um, so very strict, and it was the whole suck it up, buttercup kind of generation. He was a great father, but he was tough on. I have a brother, so he's tough on us boys, and that we don't really show feelings, we don't show emotions. It is what it is. And I carried that over into my life as I became a young man and joined the fire service. I started out in 1993 at the age of 20, and became a volunteer firefighter first, in hopes that that would help um, parlay my chances into becoming a professional firefighter.
Right.
And that took 7 years, and I finally in 2000 became a professional career firefighter, and currently serve now. Well, as I alluded to earlier, with my upbringing and everything, was you you check your feelings at the door.
Yes.
We do a lot of and let me say that that's not right, I found out. But we do a lot of cool things as first responders, be it if you're law enforcement, you're a firefighter, your sheriff, your EMS, even our dispatchers. We do a lot of cool stuff. So you would think, being gone as a firefighter for 24 hours at a time, that we would have a lot of cool things to share with our loved ones, um, when they ask us how our day was.
Right.
Like I said, I started in 2000 as a career firefighter. I got married in 2003. And every time I would come home from a 24-hour shift, my wife would be getting ready to leave. And she would ask me how my shift was. And I would always, my answer was either it was okay or it was the norm. I would never
Right.
share anything, be it good or bad, with her, which ended up proving to be for lack of better words, a cancer for not just me, but for my relationship, because it put a huge strain on the entire family dynamic. She could see the wheels were turning in my head constantly when I came home from a rough shift. And
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about rough from being up running a lot of calls. That's one thing, and that's something that totally can hurt the first responders is our sleep deprivation and our circadian rhythm getting out of whack. But when you factor in all the traumas that we could be and we are exposed to, if we don't have a healthy, being the key word, coping mechanism, and we just keep suppressing everything down and we self medicate or self numb, then that's just a complete recipe for disaster. And that's what I was doing. I was not sharing anything with my wife. Um, I was just dealing with things. It was, like I
Yeah.
said, the whole suck it up buttercup, and the first responder community back at that time was, and really a lot of it is still that way to this day, that you don't show the feelings and the emotions. If you do, you're showing weakness, and we're not a weak community. We're an alpha community for the most part, and it was very frowned upon. So I was just doing everything I thought that I had to do in that moment to survive by being tough, being the strong husband, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
the strong father. That I wasn't allowed to do all of that. And while I was doing it, I thought I was doing okay, but I was slowly spiraling downwards into what ended up being an extremely dark place. It took years to get to that dark place, but I always like to use the analogy that our heads are like a bucket, and everything that we're exposed to, these traumatic events, which the average person usually sees up to right around 5 traumatic events in their lifetime. First responder can see that in one shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you factor that into a 20, 30, even 40 plus year career, that's a lot of traumatic events that
Yeah.
we're exposed to. And we really need to be proactive instead of reactive, which we never really have been in the past when it comes to our mental health and wellness. And I was just being reactive to it. And the way I was reacting was unhealthy. I started medicating with alcohol, and I was another thing. I was reaching out, just actually reaching inside to that internal drugstore to just get some kind of quick personal satisfaction, just to kind of
Right.
numb those feelings that I was experiencing. And it was alcohol, it was sex outside of my marriage, sex and pornography, and financial issues. I was spending money that I did not have.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this went
Instant
on.
gratification.
Yeah, yeah, instant and very quick and minimal gratification. So you're doing it very frequently.
Yes.
So I was just getting by with all of that. I never thought I had a problem. I was just kind of just struggling a little bit in silence, but I thought that I had it under control by doing those three things. Well, they weren't healthy, so I wasn't emptying my bucket properly. And it was 24 years after I first started as a volunteer. So 2017. my bucket actually overflowed because I wasn't emptying it. I was
Right.
just pressing it more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that one extra traumatic event that went into the bucket. And that was one too many. And when that one went in, it was as if Pandora's box just opened
Yes.
up
Yeah.
from calls from throughout the entire 24 years that some of them I never thought twice about. They just started resurfacing. And it, it, it was horrible. It was a very bad place to be. I was having extreme nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And
Flashbacks.
my wife, we're since divorced, but she thought many times that I was having seizures at night because I was thrashing so violently, and just I would wake up soaking wet. And I was, during those nightmares, I was there in that moment of that
Mm-hmm.
particular call that I um, was dreaming about. I would also, it extended over into my awake periods, where something I would see, hear, or smell would trigger me and take me right back to being at a certain scene. And I literally, I thought I was crazy. I had not gone to a doctor yet for any of this. And I had heard about post traumatic stress, but I was like, that's not me. Post traumatic stress is something that happens to, God bless them, it happens to our military
Right.
and all of our soldiers defending our freedoms over in Vietnam earlier, and Iraq and Afghanistan, places like that, and everything that they were exposed to defending our freedoms. But it couldn't happen to just a first responder here locally.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was literally just thinking I was losing my mind. I, uh, I go around the country and I share this now with people all over. And one of the things I liken it to for the generation of listeners that are closer to my age are the late '80s, early '90s Nightmare on Elm Street movies,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
where the kids were afraid to go to sleep because of their nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
I turned into, even though I was much older, to one of those kids. I was afraid to go to sleep. So as a first responder, we're already dealing with sleep deprivation from being woke up from having to go from 0 to 100 miles per hour when the tones go off. Um, I was already behind the eight ball with that. And then you factor in with these nightmares, I just didn't want to go back to sleep. I was afraid.
Yeah, I hear that. I know exactly. I had a very traumatic childhood, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And this went on for some time. I had some people recognize it and just talk to me one on one and give me some really good advice to lean into my family and to just start being open and honest with my family of what I was feeling and what I was going through. When I have tough calls, talk to them and explore my faith also. And I really accepted that and started doing both of those things. And I thought just by doing that, that I was good, I was fixed, and I couldn't have been, as you know, and people in the mental health field know. That's me saying that. That's the furthest from the truth, because just
Mm-hmm.
doing that wasn't wasn't nearly enough of what I actually truly needed. I needed therapy,
Yeah.
and I needed to process professionally everything that I had been through over all those 24 years. And even as we can dive into um, prior to those 24 years, I know you just expressed about childhood issues. Well, come to find out, I had childhood issues as well. I didn't even realize.
Right.
But it took over a year before I made, actually, I did one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And first responders, we do a lot of hard things. And the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was actually picking up the phone and calling a therapist and asking for help.
Right.
And
It is so difficult.
when I summoned up the strength and dialed those numbers, I mean, the phone felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds when I picked it up. And, which is kind of funny because it doesn't feel like 1,000 pounds when we pick up our phones and we get on social media or whatever it is. It's as light
Yeah.
as can be. But when we want to use it to do something to help ourselves, something as important as that, it was literally like 1,000 pounds when that therapist answered the phone and I heard his voice on the other end. God only knows what he was thinking, and I'm surprised he didn't hang up on me. I thought it was some kind of a prank phone call because I couldn't get any words out for what felt like eternity, but it was roughly about 20 or 30 seconds before I could get two words out, and those two words were "help me."
Oh,
And he responded back. We struck up a good but kind of quick conversation, and we came to the conclusion he worked me in the very next day, and I would come into his office and start therapy right away. Second hardest thing I ever did was show up to his
hmm
to his office
It's
that.
one thing to make the appointment.
Yeah, yeah, anybody can make it, but it's about showing up. And um, my my generation, 70s and 80s, growing up, I just had from having these talks and just having conversations with other people to this day. A lot of people still feel this way. I thought when I showed up there, I was going to walk into his office there, and he's going to greet me. He's going to have like a smoker's jacket on and this pipe, and there's going to be a roaring fire, and he's going
Lie
to
on
be,
this couch.
yeah, he's going to be in a wing chair. I'm going to be lying on the couch and opening up and sharing all of my traumas that I've experienced and everything that I'm going through. And this man's just going to be horrified and just like push me down off the couch and pick it up and drag the couch out and say, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. I quit. But it was nothing like that. It was literally just like you and I. It was two people, two safe people, having a conversation in a safe space, and he was offering me uh, suggestions and tools to help get me out of that dark place that I had spiraled down into. And the pretty much, other than talk therapy, the only other therapy that he had offered me um, throughout all of our sessions was journaling, and I actually got a lot out of that. And for me, and everybody is different, but for me in that moment, and even to this day, and this was 2018, there's something about the power of pen to paper that I never had thought about before, but I experienced in that moment when I just started diving in and doing that. If you think about how powerful that is, just figure the Bible, the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, all of that is pen to paper. And I'm definitely not comparing my experiences and everything that I've journaled so far to any of those important documents and books. But for me, it was super powerful. I I went every other week for a year. Actually, it was just shy of a year. Was seeing this therapist, and it was doing wonders for me until he had a um, misfortune in his practice, and his partner unexpectedly passed, and
Oh,
the practice ended up shutting down.
oh, that's awful.
Yeah, so like I said, the toughest thing I ever had to do was make that first phone call when now I'm back to square one. I do have um, the modality of doing journaling, and I'm still doing that and helping, but I don't have a office to actually go and sit in and somebody to talk to and process a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to start seeking out therapists. And where I live here in Virginia Beach, we have we have the largest naval base in the country here.
Okay.
So one of the largest military as a whole populations in the country is right here. And you would think with all of the soldiers here that we would have clinically uh, competent, trauma competent therapists here that work with our veterans and maybe have a little bit of experience with first responders.
Right.
And that was extremely hard to find somebody that was competent in treating the trauma.
Yes.
And then when I did get lucky enough to find some that were treating trauma, they weren't taking on new patients or they didn't take my health insurance.
Uh,
This went on for about 3 or 4 months. I continued searching and I was at my wit's end. And finally, I found another one. I was like, let me make one more phone call. And I found a therapist here. I shared with her who I was, what happened to me, what I was going through, and that I just really needed to get back into therapy. And this young lady, she's like, look, I'm not taking on new patients right now. But after hearing everything that you've been through, what you're going through, I'm going to take you on.
I love that.
Yeah, she was amazing. So she got me in the very next day also, made uh, time on in her schedule. And I showed up there. And one of the first things, actually, not one of, the very first thing I said to her when we got behind closed doors in her office, and I didn't mean to come across like a jerk, but um, I, I may have, but I just looked at her and I told her, I said, look, no offense. I was like, but I'm looking at you as if you're a pair of shoes. Therapists aren't one size fits all. And if at the end of our appointment today, if I'm not comfortable with you and I don't think you can help me, I'm not coming back.
That's
Well,
fair enough. That's a good boundary to set, though.
yeah, I think that's to me that was the analogy I had in the time, what just popped up into my head. And I still look at it like that. And I share that analogy with people today. I'm getting ready to get married in 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. And I need shoes for my suit. So if I go to the men's warehouse or Brooks Brothers or wherever, and I try on shoes that match my suit, and they don't fit, they don't feel right or whatever, am I just going to go, you know what, screw it, and I'm going to show up at my wedding barefoot? As much as I would love to do that, because I live right here on the beach, I'm a beach boy. I would love to just
He's
be
like, I have no problem with that, but
yeah. I think my fiance would have a lot of issues because it's something you don't do. So why do we do that with our mental health? Um, Therapists aren't one size fits all. So if she wasn't the right fit, I wouldn't just say screw it. I'm not going to find another therapist. I'm just not going to do therapy anymore. No, I'm going to find the right fit for me because it's what I need. Well, her response back to me was, and this is where her and I we gained so much mutual respect just in this initial interaction. She's like, "Hey, that's fair." She goes, "Because my clients aren't one size fit all either. And if I don't think I have the modalities or the ability to give you the help and the care that I know that you need, I promise you that I will find you and get you in touch with the proper therapist that can treat you and
right.
help get you on the path to recovery." And since then, we struck it off immediately. She was a safe person, safe environment, and I was able to be 100% open and honest because of that.
Isn't
And
that such a wonderful feeling?
oh, it is. And if we're just going to check a box and just go to therapy without being open and honest, we're just spinning our wheels. And
Yes.
it's not doing any good for us.
Yeah.
We got to have that safe spot where we can 100% open up. And she gave that to me, much like my first therapist did. And this young lady, she's the one who introduced me to EMDR.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and for those of the listeners out there that aren't 100% or don't even know what EMDR is, it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it just helps you process a lot of the traumatic. Well, you do it individually, but it helps you process the traumatic events that we've been
Yes.
through.
Mm-hmm.
And when I share that with other first responders and even just my friends and individuals, I've had people uh, question, like, what kind of voodoo brainwashing stuff is that? So I've learned in my own terms. I'm not calling anybody dumb other than myself, and I'm using that in the best of terms. I believe we shouldn't speak disparaging about anyone else, but especially ourselves. So I have kind of just dumbed it down for for my own well being, and you look at our head as our brain as a filing cabinet, and those traumatic events get stored in the front of the filing cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to not erase them. We don't pull them out of the filing cabinet and shred them. You take um, the event, you do the EMDR, and all it does is move it from the front of the filing cabinet to the back of your brain, the back of the filing cabinet. You still have that memory, but you're able with the EMDR to reprocess it where you're better dealing with it now. And gosh, EMDR, it works for a lot of people. It's a very successful tool. And it may not work for all, but it works for a lot of people, and it worked wonders for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was 2019 when her and I first connected, and I was going with her and seeing her on a very frequent basis, and everything was going great. And then we started at her suggestion, and this is no knock on her whatsoever, but we started like cutting back, and it went from every other week to once a month, and then it eventually got to the suggestion that, hey, why don't we go to a as needed basis?
How did
And
you feel about that after having that comfort and safety outlet for so long?
I felt pretty, because she had given me tools. I was naive because I felt like I would be strong enough to make that phone call again.
Right.
I felt that I was spiraling out of control, and I I was able to pick up the phone one time and tell her, "Hey, I had this happen. I need to get back in." We had there's a plethora of, as you can imagine, of very difficult calls all throughout this, but had another extremely bad one. It was in March of 2021, where her and I were on a as needed basis. Well, I immediately recognized after this call I needed to get in and do some EMDR and reprocess this call.
Mm-hmm.
And she got me in. We did that. And after we got everything handled, we went back to as needed basis. Well, as almost another year had passed, we're coming up on the anniversary of that call. We're now into the beginning of 2022. And I don't know what sparked it or what triggered it. But as we're nearing, we're a couple months away from the anniversary of that call, and my hypervigilance just started like picking up big time.
Mm-hmm.
Started having images of that call, just flashbacks. I started reaching for the bottle again. My family, because like we alluded to earlier, this affects the entire family dynamic.
Yes. Yes.
Throughout all of this, I was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. My family, and even with some therapy or during my therapy time, my family never knew what husband or what father was going to be walking through those doors.
Right.
If I was going to be the cool dad or the happy-go-lucky dad and husband, or if I was going to be the jerk walking through the door that gets triggered by the smallest things and just yells or argues. And it was getting bad, and I was having the nightmares again, and I couldn't. I don't know why, but that phone weighed 1,000 pounds again. I did it a year earlier. I picked up and I reached out to her, to my therapist, but for some reason I couldn't this go around, and I knew what needed to be done and was picking up the phone and getting in there, but I was struggling so much, and because I thought I had already fully processed the call, and I was like, there's nothing else to process with it. Well, I I was getting scared because I was hurting so bad, um, just physically and mentally. My emotions, my body, everything was just kind of just shutting down, and I was getting so angry and so irate, and it was almost a week um, to the day of that call. I just I just wanted it to stop,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, I thought the only way to get all of this, um, I don't want to say because I know it's not the proper word to use, but all of this craziness that I thought that I was going through in myself, I just wanted it to stop. I wanted it to end, and I thought the only way to do that, to stop that pain, was to stop my life, was to end my
Mm-hmm.
life.
I
And
understand.
I was on shift. It was March 15th, 2022, and when I came to the conclusion that I was going to end my life, and I started going through my contacts on my phone, my family members, my friends, acquaintances, people that had an impact in my life, and I was just trying to be, um, I guess, covert about it, and I was just sending
Mm-hmm.
texts that wouldn't let the cat out of the bag of what my intentions were. Would send a text just say, "Hey, thanks for always being a mentor to me and for helping me out," or to a loved one, I would just say, "Hey, just want to let you know that I love you and have a great day." And so I went through all of those and I sent out a ton of text messages. Well, that evening, when I was laying in my bed at the firehouse, I composed a letter to my wife, a letter to my son, and a letter to my mother. Those were the three most important people in my life at that time. And we change shifts at 7 a.m. So the next morning, when we were having shift change, I gave turnover to the officer that was relieving me, and usually I would still hang out and drink coffee with the guys that are coming in and just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as I gave turnover, I think I was kind of like just had that dead man walking, just 1,000-mile stare. And I just told him what he needed to know, and I just walked right past everybody and went out to my vehicle and headed home. I stopped about a mile from my house and I looked at the Ring doorbell camera and waited until I saw my wife and my son leave. And once they left and the coast was clear, I went home. I I knew I was going to take my life that day. I knew also my son was going to be the first one coming home. And regardless of how I did it, I knew it was going to be traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted it to look like Dad went to sleep and just didn't wake up.
Right.
I didn't want anything extremely violent or anything like that. And I was on numerous medications also to go with the therapy. And I had a bottle. There was at least 30 in there, Xanax.
Okay. Yeah.
So I took the entire bottle of pills and rinsed it down with a bottle of liquor and started on a 6-pack of beer. And I just figured all that together combined was going to put me to sleep, and I just wouldn't wake up.
Mm-hmm.
I sent out those the message. I actually sent all 3 of those letters to my wife, and next thing I know is I remember very little, but I know a neighbor, and I remember vaguely the fire department and rescue showed up. And the next thing I remember after that was, gosh, it was hours later. I was waking up in the hospital, hooked up to machines, and I, when I was finally able to open up my eyes enough and get some clarity, I looked over to my left, and right there beside my hospital bed was my wife and my son. And I'm ashamed and I'm sad that it took all of that, but the light bulb came on for me in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and how I was trying to take my life to stop the pain. I realized that, hey, that wasn't stopping the pain. It was going to stop my life, but it wasn't stopping the pain, because all that pain that I was trying to stop, it was just passed on. I saw it on my wife and my son's face. I was just passing on the pain to them. And I told myself in that moment, if I get out of here, I pull through this, never again. I'm going to find every resource imaginable and find the right resources. And I'm going to fix myself, or I'm going to let others fix me, but I'm going to choose that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never going to end up in that spot again. And by the grace of God, I wasn't successful that day. I was in the hospital for over a week, and when I got out of the hospital, I did find the resources, and I'm living the best life. That was, I just hit the 3-year anniversary of my suicide attempt, and I look at it as I'm not celebrating the attempt when I celebrate that anniversary every year, but I look at it as celebrating my rebirth.
Yes.
And I was trying to, um, God was writing my story, and I was trying to take away the pen from God, and I need to just leave it in his hands and let him write my story. So I graciously have given that pen back to God and let him finish my story. I had always been I'd been raised in the church, but I would go sporadically, probably once or twice a month. We were trying to raise our son in the church and everything, and give him good Christian values. But that's all I was kind of doing, was just going there and showing up. Well, like I said, March 16th, 2022, that morning was my suicide attempt. Easter that year was 1 month and 1 day after my attempt. It was April 17th, 2022. And I'll never forget that day either. As we were in church at the Easter service, where I had have sitting many a days in church, like I said, just kind of spinning my wheels a little bit. But something that day, that service, the regardless of where people stand with their faith and their spirituality, this is where I am with mine. The Holy Spirit came over me, and it was in that moment that I knew that I needed that, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior that day. And throughout my recovery, um, incorporating 100% my faith into it has been such another strong tool for me.
Absolutely.
And faith has been very good to me. And it was 2 weeks after Easter, I had found an organization that started out in Malibu, California. Out of the trunk of the founder's car, he wanted to try and stop uh, the suicide, the veteran suicide epidemic,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew there was an issue with first responders also. And he wanted to do everything that he could to try and do that. So he started this organization out of the trunk of his car in Malibu, California. And now he has since transitioned over or relocated. He's in Hillsboro, Ohio. And this gentleman's name is Jake Clark, and the organization is called Save a Warrior. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah, a friend of mine was alumni of Save a Warrior. He went through a lot of the struggles that I was going through, and he's like, Chris, he goes, you need to reach out to them. It's a nonprofit organization. You reach out. You could submit your information online. They set up a time to have a rostering call with you and see if you're a good fit for their program. So, like I said, I wanted to find whatever I needed. So I was like, absolutely. So I reached out, did the rostering call, and the organization said that I would be a good fit. And it was the end of April of 2022 when they got me out to Hillsboro, Ohio, myself, and it was 8 other first responders. And we went through. They have it's a 72-hour program. And at the very start of the 72 hours, they asked us if any of us were skeptical. And I was like, absolutely, I am. And they're like, okay, that's fair. Why? I was like, well, I've already done several years of therapy, and I just had a suicide attempt. And you guys think you're going to change me in 72 hours when years of therapy
Yeah.
haven't been fully successful. And they're like, hey, we get it. We hear that often. All we ask is that you're open and you're honest and you lean in. And I was like, you got it. The very next thing we did was a eye opener. As I alluded to earlier, I never knew anything about generational trauma, childhood traumas.
Mm-hmm.
They introduced us all. They explained to us about ACEs, adverse childhood
Oh
experience.
God, yes. I love this.
Yeah, and No, I don't think any of us, any of the 9 first responders sitting in those chairs, knew anything about it. And they just told us, they're like, we're going to give you 10 questions. And all you got to do, you just answer yes or no. But you don't justify your answer. Either it happened to you or it did not. Do not justify it.
Right.
And it's the first 18, as I know you're aware, it's the first 18 years of your life. And my initial score after doing those 10 questions, my score was a 5. And I learned a lot about myself over those 72 hours.
Yes.
At the end of their program, at the end of the 72 hours, they re-give you the ACEs. And my score jumped from a 5 to an 8, because we so often we use we talk about peeling back the proverbial layers of the onion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in these 72 hours, we peeled those layers of the onion back so far there wasn't anything left, and it unearthed inside of me those other 3 yeses, the other 3 things that did happen to me that I had suppressed so far
Right.
down. And it was shared with me, and I've since learned there's been some studies with ACEs, and I might not be 100% accurate with my number right now, but I know it's going to be pretty darn close. I believe that the average prison population is about a 6.5. And there haven't been a lot of studies for first responders, no big studies, but in some smaller unofficial studies, that the average ACEs score of a first responder is about a 6.5, 7.
Yes.
So the theory behind why first responders and even our military veterans have higher ACEs scores is because of what happened to us in our early years. We wanted to, when we turned 18, we wanted to get away. So we joined the military, or we wanted to be the rescuer because there was nobody there to rescue us.
Oh,
So
right. Exactly.
yeah, so we go into these fields as law enforcement or firefighters, but we never truly would deal with all of those issues. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize I had those issues. I just suppressed them down.
Mm-hmm.
But when the light was shined on it and everything was explained to me, and the way they presented it to us and they taught us, it was just, it was breathtaking. Because many of us, we were like, you know what? Um, I want to tell my father that I forgive him, but it's not a matter of forgiving them. I was taught it was a matter of me. I needed to ask forgiveness, and it was a matter. My dad had passed, but I wanted to ask my dad to forgive me for making him wrong. I made him wrong, and the reasoning behind that is the whole we don't know what we don't know. My dad went through everything that I was going through with his dad.
Right.
And it was the whole generational. He did what we do, what we feel we need to do to survive.
Yes.
And that's what
Absolutely.
my dad was doing. It was what was done to him as a child. So that's all he knew, and he was doing it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came back from Ohio, one of the first things that I ended up doing was talking to my son, and um, how important it was that the generational trauma and things that my dad did to me that I was doing to my son, it was going to stop.
I love
And
that.
yeah,
It's recognizing it, and then taking the actions towards it.
yeah, and that Save a Warrior also introduced me to the Big Blue Book, and I didn't think, and I still to this day, this isn't denial. I've talked to I have a sponsor or had a sponsor, but they're like, hey, why don't you try and go through AA? And I was like, I don't have a problem, but
Right.
I would love to go through it. And they're like, yeah, we've had lots of people that say the same thing, that they don't have a problem. They go through it and they're like, you know what? I do have a problem. And they had people that go through it that say, hey, I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic. They'll go through the 12 steps. And by the end, they're like, yeah, I really didn't have a problem. I thought I did, but I don't. But anyhow, I was open to that, and went through the program. We were doing the steps individually. And one of the things that blew me away, I wasn't super familiar with AA, and I never knew it was faith based. So since I had just recently at that time accepted Jesus Christ, I was really blown away by that, and loved it that it was faith based.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up going through all 12 steps. And like I said, I came to the conclusion, and it was an agreement that I didn't really have a um, I'm not an alcoholic. I had a problem, but I wasn't an alcoholic.
Right.
And it was taught to me, and I use this to this day, that AA, the 12 step program, you can substitute the word alcohol with anything.
Mm-hmm.
You have issues with pornography, with drugs, with relationship, whatever it may be. You just substitute it and you use those same 12 principles.
Right.
And it works wonders. I use that in my daily life, making moral inventories and making amends with others. And it's just such a great place to be. And that's just a couple of the things that I've learned about and I incorporate into my daily recovery. I had gotten back, obviously, I never mentioned this, but right back into therapy. I ended up having to get a third therapist, that I was able to get into a lot sooner, right after my suicide attempt. And I still see this therapist to this day, and we recognized immediately that one of the issues that I had was, when we went to an as needed basis, and I told them, my new therapist, that I would never do that. That I want to go every other week, and even if I think that we have nothing to talk about, I'm still going to show up, and we'll talk about the weather or whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
And
So important.
yeah, yeah, and usually when I show up there and I think there's nothing to discuss, five
There
minutes,
always is something, right?
yeah, oh yeah, 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, well, we did run this call and it did make me feel this way, or
Right.
I have this going on in my relationship, and it's just amazing. So many times, actually, all the times in our profession as first responders, the event has already happened when we get the call.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already behind the eight ball with what's going on, and we're a reactive organization. There are a few things that we do by doing business inspections and pre-fire plans where we're being proactive.
Right.
I'm trying to get the word out, and with all of my experiences and where I am right now, that we need to start being proactive with our mental health and wellness.
Oh my gosh, yes, because like imagine if already had a box of tools, of coping skills that before you even went to the repeated traumas, it would be so much easier to be able to process them, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. And even like with people go to marriage counseling once they realize they have an issue with their marriage. Well, why can't we be? We have a lot of, I don't want to say failed marriages. We have a lot of unsuccessful marriages within the first responder community,
Mm-hmm.
and those numbers can fluctuate depending on what studies you read. But traditionally, the divorce rate is pretty moderate to high. But so imagine if we go ahead and we seek out ahead of time therapy for ourselves, but also for our marriages as well. And where we're working as a team together, and how we both have mentioned the tools and having a lot of great tools in our toolbox. Well, um, we also not just having the tools, we got to have the know how to use the tools, the know when to use the tools, and the ability. Because I tell my first responders when I speak on this, this is, I guess, predominantly for our firefighters. We have a set of tools. We call it the irons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a flathead axe and a Halligan bar. Those are two of our forcible entry tools. Imagine if somebody just walks in, a brand new kid just hired off the street to be a firefighter, and they come in their very first day, and we give them the tools and we say, hey,
Jeez, like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these?
yeah, exactly. We say, open that door, take these and open that door.
Yeah.
We gave them the tools, so why can't they fix it? Why can't they open that door?
Yes.
So it's no different than with our mental health. With If we give somebody access to therapy, we need to give them tools and reasoning and logic behind it, so they know that that phone isn't 1,000 pounds like it felt for me that day.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is one that was introduced to me and those 8 other brothers there that were in Save a Warrior. They introduced us to it's called Warrior Meditation. It's a 20-minute meditation that we do daily. And I I apologize to your California listeners out there, but when I was introduced to meditation, no knock on California, but I was like, what kind of California tree hugger granola stuff is this that you guys are having these 9 alpha males do?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we get it. Just bear with us and try it. It could take up to 2 weeks for you to be able to condition your mind and your body to get into a good meditative state. They're they're strongly encouraging that we do that. And even after I left there, I continued on with the meditation, and it took me about 12 days to be able to fall into a meditative state for my 20-minute meditation each day. And gosh, I tell you, as as I guess uneducated as I was with meditation, it's amazing. It is amazing how the mind can transform and let go of a lot of things. And when I start my day off with a daily meditation, and then I do another one in the late afternoon, early evening, and I do it at the firehouse as well when I'm on shift. I'll do my moral inventory before I try and get to sleep, and then I'll roll that right into meditation.
I love that.
And those tools right there are two of the most important tools in my toolbox. That moral inventory, just recounting, and I guess in some way, shape, or form, that is me kind of reprocessing the way I felt during the various calls throughout the day, or even if I'm off shift, just recounting things that I've done throughout the day in general that it may have sparked my hypervigilance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So a good friend of mine, she's a therapist in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, and she's actually she calls them neck up checkups. Well, when I do my daily and moral inventory, I I start with recognizing. I start at my head, and I recognize how I feel. How did this call make me feel? How am I feeling in this moment? And I start with, all right, do I have any pain or discomfort, tension in my head? And then I was like, yes, I do. So I acknowledge that and try and breathe and relax. And then I just keep continuing working on my way down, acknowledging it. And then I go all the way down throughout my body, all the way down to my feet.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Somatic therapy.
yeah, it's the whole, and I don't think anybody pronounces the name properly, but Dr. Bessel Vanderkolk.
Vanderkirk. Yep.
Yeah, with the body keeps the score.
Love that book.
Oh yeah, when I when I was introduced to that, somebody told me like, hey, you might want to check this out, and I couldn't put that book down. It is
I
so
know.
true that
Yeah.
our all of everything that we're feeling mentally, it affects the body as a whole, all of the different systems of the body, and we really got to take care of, because you always you hear mind and body, and I incorporate the third, mind, spirit, and body, into
Mm-hmm.
my recovery. And like I said, it's just been there's so much more that I could share, but I know our time is very limited here.
Well, we should do a part two then.
I would love that.
All right, that would be awesome. Um, Yeah, like, wow. First of all, I just want to say, like, I am so glad your attempt didn't work. I have failed a few myself and got to the point where I was just like, you know what, death doesn't want me. I have a purpose in life, and let's, stop focusing on the trauma, heal what I can, and just continue to move forward. And I'm on a long healing journey, and people often say, like, I work with a lot of people with trauma, and they're like, okay, well, if I do this and this and this, like, when will I be healed? And I like to say, like, I'm not even sure that anyone that experiences intense trauma will be fully healed. You will just be so much better able to cope and manage that these traumas won't need to be locked in a vault to fester away and then open their doors and attack you at another time,
Amen.
you know? And I think it's so important. Like, I'm super proud of you. Like, I don't even know you, and I'm so proud of you for going to that course and for being open-minded. And now you're taking the knowledge that you have and sharing it with, other people who are going to face the same experiences. And that is a gift, my friend, like the gift of knowledge and the gift of experience. Because if you send a lecturer up, the guys might be like, well, yeah, what's this guy? No, he's not a firefighter, blah 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 blah, textbook nonsense, right? But you're coming from having the clinical knowledge from therapy and the life experience, and that is a perfect combination.
Yeah, that's I don't think the value of that. There's a lot of people, and I'm not discrediting the that go to school and learn all of this, and that I think that's amazing, and they're so smart, and the the correct terminology. I know I definitely don't use that. I always give the disclaimer when I do my conferences and symposiums and all that. I'm definitely not a clinician or a therapist, and I'm sure as hell not a doctor.
Yeah.
But what I am, I'm just a first responder with mental health and wellness issues, and I have a suicide attempt. I've been doing this job for 34 years. I have a lot of good lived experiences, and to me, I think that first responders, they can relate to that a lot better. Do they still need the professional clinical help? Um, yeah, probably. There's a very strong case that yes, they definitely do need to get in and get therapy. But just by hearing me and what they can relate to, it's the whole kind of like Me Too thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Absolutely. You don't feel alone. You feel like, wow, wait a second. I go through this too. And here's this guy, he went through that and he, survived an attempt. And now he's up here on the stage telling us, about his story. That's so powerful.
yeah, I just got back from presenting in Kansas City, and it was over 150 first responders there. And
Wow.
when I came down, and I stay, I get there at the start of the conference, and I stay until the very end of it. And after my presentation, just I'm just always blown away. And in Kansas City, they're all special to me. Every conference that I present at, but just I've had I got so many personal um, contacts afterwards. I get them
Yes.
with every presentation, but I had
Hmm.
some that really for some reason just really struck a lot of personal in a good way nerves with me. And I always ask everybody that reaches out to me if we can stay in touch. And I've never had anybody say no. And I have
No, I don't want to talk to you again, man. Sorry.
yeah, I have a long contact list, and I just randomly go through them and do buddy checks.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, and
It's
it's
so
just
important. I do it online too. Like I just say, it takes 10 seconds to check on someone. Literally, to send a text, it takes 10 seconds or less. And that one text, that one message, that one call can make the difference in someone's day. It can make the difference between saving a life sometimes. You don't even know it,
amen,
right?
amen to that. It sure as heck can, and I know for a fact that it does. I've had some people that I have done it for that have
Exactly.
responded back to me and let me know that they were in a very dark place when that moment my text came through. And like I said, I'm not going to have all the answers. Might not have any of the answers. And sometimes people don't need the answers. They just need to be
No.
heard.
Yes, and validated. Oh my God, yes, so important. To
Yeah.
know that whatever they're feeling about whatever situation, those feelings are okay. It's okay to have those feelings,
Yeah.
and you don't feel so alone.
Yeah. And somewhere along the way, we as humans, as individuals, we've conditioned ourselves to the wrong way of listening. Now we listen to respond, and not everything needs a response. We need to get back to where we listen to understand. And like we both agreed on, we don't always need to be able to give a response, but we need to understand where they're coming from, where they're feeling.
Hmm.
And you had the key word right there. When we do that, it lets them feel and know that they're being heard, and it validates their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions, and that can help to spark them to get on that journey to recovery, or to get back on it, wherever they're at in their journey. That can make a huge difference in their well-being.
Oh, absolutely. And like I feel like I've known you for 20 years already because like I say the same thing all the time. I do a mental health space on X or Twitter, and I'm always telling people, listen to hear. Do not listen to speak.
Yes.
Right,
100.
because that's all people need sometimes. They don't want an answer, they just want to be heard. When you feel heard, you feel seen, you feel validated, and then also you know that someone is actively listening,
Yes.
which is listening not to respond.
Yes, ma'am. Amen.
I love that. I love that. So awesome. Um, I would like to stay in touch absolutely with you. I am just, blown away by you're just like, oh my God, like we have so much in common. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, I'd love to stay in touch and I'd love to do like a part two with you for sure. Obviously after your wedding, you can tell me how that went.
Yeah, yeah. Let's set something up for after the wedding, and we can discuss that and how my mental health did, if I found the right pair of shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, God, did you show up in flip-flops?
I would definitely love to do that, but that's
I know, I hear you, man. I hear you. I'd be a beach wedding person too. Barefoot bride. But yeah, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your story. If you want to send me any links you want posted, like to the warrior group or anything like that, I'll put them up in the show notes. Um, but yeah, like even if you have like a contact for, your speaking gigs and that kind of stuff, send that forward to me too, and I'll make sure that that gets put out. Um, I have the utmost respect for you as a first responder and you as a human being who has taken so much time to, heal and put work into themselves. And I think that's amazing. And I think what you're doing to help others is amazing.
Awesome. Well, I have the utmost respect for you and everything that you're doing. I'm glad. I don't know if I said that yet, but I'm glad that you're still here too. Um,
Not going anywhere, too stubborn.
that's right. Me too. But yeah, this. Thank you for giving people this platform to share.
Yes, of course.
I think it's very important that we have these platforms and we normalize these conversations. So I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely, because to me, every person's got a story, and every story is important in one way or another and deserves to be heard.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I thank you for reaching out, and I thank you for giving me the time today to, share your journey. Let's stay in touch, and we'll definitely set something up.
Sounds good, Jody. Thank you very
Uh,
much, and you have a
You're
blessed
so
day.
welcome. You too, honey, and have a fantastic wedding.
Absolutely. I'm going to try. Actually, I'm
All
going to
right.
more than try. I choose to have a fantastic wedding.
Yes, you are going to have a fantastic wedding,
Yep.
and have one dance with no shoes.
Will do.
All right, my friend, take care.
All right. Take care. Be safe. Bye bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty. Our sponsor for this episode is Shauna Hawkins Photography. With a variety of prints and keepsakes to suit any decor, you're guaranteed to find the perfect piece for your space. Visit shaunahawkins.smugmug.com and make your neighbors jealous today. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a like and don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the work I do, why not buy me a coffee? Details in the show notes. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Dorian Kent and produced by Jody Betty and Dorian Kent. This has been a Raw and Open production.